Hello? Can you hear me? I mean, Ed's not on the set. Den? Can you hear me? Can we hear the microphone? 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello! Hi. Right, so the only person that isn't here is Tony now. Where is he? Right, okay, so if everyone, including Mr. Tony Allen, can take their seats, please, then we will start in a couple of minutes. Put the music back on and everyone settle down and we'll start the show. Oh, yes, I think so. Okay. Get Den. Hello. Right. Oh, round of applause. Thank you. That little smashing filled it up. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Tony Allen's Woke Wake. Yeah, indeed. Are you going to pay attention? Okay. I suppose you don't have to, do you? It's your event. You can just... Oh, okay. Do some jokes. Right. Right. Okay. So I'm going to start with, basically, just to let you know as well, there's a tab that's running, courtesy of various different people. So if you go up to the bar and say it's on Tony's tab, you can get drinks until it runs out. But I think Sir Gideon is here, so it'll probably only last about 5 minutes. So get in there while you can. So I'm going to first introduce the first act. I think it's probably the perfect person to start the proceedings. It is the incredible Mr. Alexei Sayle.
In fact, I did a play, a Brecht play in 1976 at the factory on the Harrow Road. Yeah, whatever, that way. And somebody was it was very communistic, and somebody was heckling us, which we weren't really used to. So it was very serious. Turned out it was Tony anyway. That was the that was the first time we encountered each other. I'd just like to, it's incredible. Me and Tony obviously were at Tony came up with the name Alternative Cabaret, and we were at the dawn of something extraordinary, and it's it's a kind of unrepeatable experience that very few people are granted, I think, to be right at the very creation of an art form. And it was a delirious time to be alive, really. And we used to think about ideas. We used to spend all night talking about the kind of theory and what we were going to do. And one night I remember at Tony's flat, we had a long discussion, and it was about how, if a production company sent a limo for you, was it all right to accept it? Or would you have to cycle there or walk there or wait for a demonstration to be passing by that was, which was fairly likely in those days, which would pass in the production company. So me and Tony, we stayed up all night arguing this point, consulted all the sacred texts, the Eagle Annual for 1957. The Anarchist Cookbook. In the end, we decided that it would be, and this was the kind of official line, it would be all right to accept a limo from the production company to take you to a meeting as long as you sat in the front with the driver. No, fuck that. I'm not talking to some fucking driver. What you would do, you have to sit in front with the driver and have a discussion with him about Cuba. That was the that was the official limo drivers. Anyway, that is my one of my many thousands of wonderful recollections of my time with Tony. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm very glad to be here as well. And the next act is What's Her Name?
Hello. I'm What's Her Name, but I grew up and I remember what my name was. I changed it to Nonika because it sounded more sophisticated and grown up. And, well, I'm doing my best, Tone. And look, he's made me forget to put my lights on, look. Hey! Where's the other? Oh, look, I can't get my skirt light on. Oh, no. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, those of you that know me as What's Her Name were one of the few people at Tony Allen's gigs in the 90s. There weren't many of us. And when I first met Tony, there was no such thing as an iPhone. Only rich people had computers, and I was a MILF. And you had to explain to the general public what a MILF was, because it was before the worldwide wank that we're all involved in. Now, well, we've come a long way, haven't we? I mean, these days, if you've got a Nokia 5210, it's practically an heirloom. There's such a thing as an antique computer. And I'm old and menopausal, and I can't fucking remember anything, which is why I've got it fucking written down. Tony's sneering at me. Look at him, he's sneering so heavily. But, you know, we all get old. I'm not proud. It does go on. So progress, it's fucking impossible, isn't it? These days, your kid is on TikTok, covered in only acronyms, shaking their booty and probably making more money in crypto than you ever dream of. So when I met Tone, which was critical to my progress through life, because he's very critical, I was a poet, which meant I was skint, obviously. And in between having 4 sons and a gay husband in a corset, I know that doesn't add up, but we were ahead of our time. Was running around doing the kids' activities, and I arrived at the Tabernacle, which is a little venue down the road. It's a community centre now, but Tony opened it up as a squat back in the 70s, and there was this poster saying, attitude, want to make something of it. And I thought, well, everybody's telling me that I need to fix my attitude up, so I better try and make something out of it. So there I was, trying to recover the baby brain from the fog that happens when you give birth, because I was really bored of singing Twinkle Fucking Twinkle and Roly Poly by the time it got to son number 4. So I turned up at Tony's workshop and I fucking loved it. It was great. I got to stand there and no one could interrupt me. It's bleeding brilliant. And so, before I knew it, the kids were at nursery. I was doing regulars at the performance club. I had a fucking stage name, and I had no chance at all of getting a proper job. None at all. And the first time Tony ever complimented me was when I did a set about how, when I was old, which I am now, I was gonna shag toy boys, and I didn't mind paying for it. And when the grandchildren said to me, "Granny, what was that noise in the night?" I was gonna say, "It's all right, darling. That was Granny buck riding into the sunset." And Tone goes to me, "That's beautiful, that is." I like that. So, decades passed. The kids got older. We didn't make any money. Well, not doing comedy anyway. I didn't get a proper job. Didn't get published. North Kensington got gentrified to within an inch of its life, and they burnt our neighbours to death and got away with it. There's no punchline for that. Anyway, 2 or even 3 decades later, here we are in the middle of the new fucking century. Well, a quarter of a way in it. And I remember doing a Y2K gig with Tony in the end of 1999. And looking back, our concerns about the social and global problems that we were facing look like fucking wild optimism now. Oh, I mean, not only did we get a pandemic and 2 lockdowns, we've got a glove puppet that nobody voted for as a prime minister, and The Guardian is running adverts where you can buy a sunny day for your wedding for £100,000. How did it get so bad? So here we are. I'm a gilf. You all know what that means. Granny, I'd like to fuck. Most of us survived the war on terrorism. I bit the bullet and self-published just in time to get cancelled from the queer poetry scene for saying that lesbians shouldn't have to suck cock. And the brat that I was taking to Tony's workshops, he grew up, Tony used to call him the clever one. I've got 4 kids, but he only took notice of the clever one. I don't think he even knows the others' names. I can't remember how old they are, so I'm not much better. Anyway, so the clever one grew up to be a fucking artist. He writes jokes, Tones. And he did, the clever one, the baby that I brought, yeah, he writes jokes and he describes himself as dirty white. I told him it was racist, he didn't care. And so Tone, me and my offspring are your spiritual fucking legacy. I hope you're proud. OMFGWTAF. How are we to unfuck this? FFS, kill me now. Someone ate the sacred cow. LMFAO, LOL. What surgical, digital, fresh hell. M2F, AFAB. Looks like a crock of shit to me. IKR, STFU. I like normal. I didn't want new. I should speak out, but I can't be bothered. You're best off out, mate. It's tits up. Game over. Tone, it's been a privilege and a pleasure. And when I join you at the fucking great comedy club in the sky, I promise I'll sit next to you and I won't eat crisps noisily. And now I will make space for Neil Anderson, who is here as a proxy for people who are too ill, too old, or too far away to get here. Neil Anderson.
Thank you. This is not what I do at all. I'm not any representation of the standard of talent that's assembled here this evening, all to massage Tony's ego, and very good it is too. It's great, Tony. I'm really pleased. when I talked to Becky, she said, you've known Tony a long time, and I first came across him in the 70s, and she said, do you want to say something? I went, fuck no, I don't stand up and do talking, but I know several people who can't be here who want to say stuff, and so they've sent me words, and it's snowballed. And the first one, Tony asked me about it, isn't Tom here, Tom Costello? And I said, no, but he sent me something. And Tony and Tom used to share squats and flats and stuff together for quite a few years, 8 or 9 years, Tone, going back from Hayes, outer suburbs of... All right, I'll shut up. Anyway, I'm just going to read it, all right? Tony, this is Tom speaking, not me. Tony, you and I moved to Notting Hill in about 1970. A 2-bedroom, ground floor squat, 151 Westbourne Park Road. We were both kids in a play about comic book characters, where the mad scientist eventually blows up the world. The explosion was simulated by an electronic battery-operated maroon in a metal bucket. I had to ask what maroon was. It's a stage explosion that you buy from theatrical suppliers that makes a big bang. Big bang, great fun. And a very successful show that we took around London play sites. This was a time that the police were very hot on any potential terrorists, who they thought might be living in squats, not unreasonably. Both the IRA and the Angry Brigade were active. The Home Secretary's car had recently been blown up in Holland Park. One morning, there was banging on the door at 4 a.m. The police were shouting, "Get dressed!" They were raiding the squats looking for suspects. Being a good Catholic boy, I got dressed. While they were searching the house, I could hear the police shouting, "Hasn't he got dressed yet?" Tony just wouldn't put any clothes on. You're a big chap, Tone, and I say it myself, you're quite well endowed. You managed to make them feel really uncomfortable and really unwelcome, which can't be a bad thing. They seemed very interested in your diary, Tone. We realised why afterwards. Entries about our play, such as, "Bombs didn't go off today. Tom needs to get some more bombs tomorrow. Off to Dublin next week to see Mary Ann." Anyway, there's another one. You were involved in many squatting projects over the years. One that stands out was the Palm Court Hotel in Richmond, a large empty property by Richmond Bridge that had a raised garden going down to the river. Several groups of squatters had tried to live there but were illegally evicted by the police. You had to get a court order, they didn't bother. You had an idea. We set off to see Erin Pitsey. You remember her? At the Women's Refuge in Chiswick, a 3-storey house occupied by at least 130 women and kids. We could hardly get in the door for prams and pushchairs. Would they be interested in squatting a nice big hotel? They would. That Saturday night at about 10:30 p.m, while the police were occupied with the drinking public, 5 of us broke in. It had a grand staircase, beautiful mirrors and lots of rooms. The next week we returned with Eric Pizzey's plumber to see it was okay for their needs. It was. Within a week or two, sometime in 1975 I think it was, a lorry loaded with women and kids arrived. This reached the front pages of all the national papers, and they all remained there for several years. Tony, this is Tom, says, you're never going to get to heaven. I don't think they would allow a disruptive, free-thinking anarchist in. On the other hand, you're never going to go to hell either. You've helped and inspired so many people in so many ways. As my Uncle Mick from Galway used to say, whatever you do, don't die. That's Tom Costello. I've got another one. You remember Mick Davis? Oh, bloody hell, Mick Davis. Right, well, he wrote some stuff as well. It was also out west. I'm sorry, Toad. I'll stop if you like. No, it's all right. It's all right, all right. Tony, I was introduced to you as someone wanting to start an underground magazine. I was keen and impressed by you, this charismatic, gangly figure, 7 years older than me with a fondness for billiard halls, beat poets and jazz. Your hero was, and still is, probably, Lenny Bruce. we started together Itch magazine, so called as you wanted it to be a local irritant. You soon expanded the entertainment business. You took over the running of the Hayes Folk Club in the back of a pub. During the 1970 election, you hit upon the idea of what you called the anti-poster workshop. Uxbridge had a number of huge billboards with posters advertising the Tory campaign. Wouldn't Britain be better off Conservative? You cut out a stencil to match the lettering and the size and printed off small slips of paper which covered the word better with the word pissed. So better off became pissed off. Well, how we laughed. Changing the world was not only going to be easy, it was going to be fun. Then there was the Freeman Syndicate, some of you might have heard of, a bunch of anarchists and malcontents based at the White Hart in Southall, and lunacy escalated. The priorities of the club were drinking, having fun, and destroying capitalism, usually in that order. Most of us worked on small building jobs for the main organiser, who was called Chairman Ron. In the early 70s, I moved to what was the... Eh?
His dad.
Is that John Claydon?
Yeah.
It is, hello. I just recognised you, hello. And Rosie. You've thrown me. Then you know, but you knew Chairman Ron. Okay, well, I moved to the then dereliction of Notting Hill to pursue the wilder shores of fantasy politics. You and Tom, I think, moved soon after in your element, theatre groups, agitprop protests, squatting events, etc., etc. My political disillusionment and cynicism grew. For me, history started to go in the wrong direction, but the current politics only seem to increase your dedication to the anarchist surrealist cause. Now, John Claydon probably know how Mick Davis's politics went, but we won't go there. That's some of my memories of you and me, Tony, and now it looks like the big sea is about to take us both soon. Though a lifelong atheist, I fantasise about arriving in front of all the gods at the final day. We'll face them together, Tone, and perhaps put on a show. Pass easy, old friend. I've driven him out the room. I've got another one. I'm sorry about that, Tone. Yeah? It's all right. I've got another one. Is John Miles here by any chance? Or anyone who remembers Farrell Cleary? Well, does someone want to read out Farrell Cleary's? It's very simple. Sorry? Okay, so put Nick on now. Well, I'm proud to announce Nick Revell is coming on now. We're doing Farrell Cleary later. Right. There you go. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Hey. Oh, sorry. Is there a mic stand? Oh, there he is. Okay. It's all right. I'm taking my time. Hello. I first did the Comedy Store in September of 1980, and Tony was the compere. And I was thinking of something to do last night, and it occurred to me. It was a very, very tough night, but Tony was brilliant, and the only reason I didn't get gonged off is because if it was your first time there doing an open spot, you were immune from being gonged off. I got booed off, but I didn't get gonged off. I did my 5-minute set in about 90 seconds, but watching Tony run this room, I thought, there is a way of making this work. And so I owe it to him that I persisted as a stand-up comedian, but don't hold that against him. But I wanted to try and do some of the lines that I remember from, that's 43 years since. So the old Comedy Store in Dean Street, you would go up in a lift. 4 people could stand in this lift. There was a long queue and the tension was building when you just walked into the lift. They had a doorman who used to wear a dinner jacket and reminded me always of the barman, ghost barman in The Shining. This is before you've even got into the building. The tension is rising. You go up to the 3rd floor. You would walk out past the strip club, which was sometimes still going on, and you would walk down a beautiful Art Deco staircase, which I subsequently learnt was designed by Matisse, and when the building was gutted out, it was totally destroyed. Anyway, you would walk down the staircase through some sort of tinsely metallic strip ribbons hanging down to form a little gate, and you walked into a room probably about the same size as this with, I think, red chairs with gold kind of backs to them, and a medley of design concepts in the same building, including quite a low ceiling about this high with some sort of polystyrene tiles in an Italianate Renaissance style. And you'd be waiting there to go on, and before the show started, they would play Ethel Merman's version of There's No Business Like Show Business. And even now, when I hear that song, I have post-traumatic stress in the same way that a Vietnamese child of my age would probably get from hearing a helicopter. And then Reed Anderson, who was the manager at the time, would announce, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime. Please welcome to the stage your compere, Ladbroke Grove's best dressed squatter, voted so 3 years running, Mr. Tony Allen." Tony comes on, taller than me, obviously, I can't do that. Linen jacket, black t-shirt, red braces, drain pipe trousers, and I think a pair of Doc Martens. Walking around, owning the room before he's even opened his mouth. Somebody's down here. "Are you in equity?" "No, well, get your fucking feet off the stage." "All right, we're off." I tell you, I'm in such a good mood this evening. I am in such a good mood. For the first time in my life, I've finally got some money. I sold my flat. £50,000. 1980s prices. £50,000. I'm so happy. When the Housing Association find out, they're going to be fucking furious. Well, look at the state of this room, eh? It looks like it was designed by a pools winner on acid. Lifts one of the polystyrene side. Oh, Lord Lucan. Yeah. God, Lenny Bruce, my hero. Ended his career dying of heroin in a toilet. That's how I'm starting off. What's that? You gong? You can't gong me off. I'm the compere. I'm the one who decides who get gonged. The anarchists are in charge now. Yeah, figure that one out. Oh, what's that you're saying? You're calling me a cunt? That's a lovely thing to say. What a lovely thing to call me a cunt. You might think it's an insult, but cunts are warm and sensitive and transmit ecstasy and new life. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's cunts like me that make pricks like you stand up straight. All right. So much smoke coming off this table, it's like standing on the hill outside Port Talbot. That's the trouble with weed, you know. It's a gateway drug to the heavy stuff like tobacco. And you can't smoke the Lebanese red these days. It's cut with shrapnel. Brechtian joke with the punchline first to deconstruct and dissolve the suspension of disbelief. So I'll do the punchline first, all right? Yes, you've got the concept. A little bit of excitement there from the middle-class couple down there who have been deciding whether they'll laugh at the jokes when they've decided when they're ideologically sound or not. Yes, they're the kind of people who put Perrier in the radiators of their Volvos. Anyway, Brechtian joke. Bitter, I'm fucking furious. Yasser Arafat walks into a pub, the barman says, and he says, "I'd like a pint, please." Barman says, "Bitter, there you go, you see, deconstructing the jokes." Hello? Yeah, hello. Oh, hello, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm on stage at the Comedy Store, as it happens. Yeah, a couple of hecklers, they're quite leery tonight, but what can you expect when people have been beaten out of shape all their lives by living in the capitalist system? Yeah. No, I'm channeling all the anger and channeling it back to them as love so that I can break down their inhibitions and they can embrace the purpose of the evening, which is to spread joy and social change through the medium of social alternative comedy. Sorry, I got my words mixed up there. I've got a temporary case of orthoginal pessary poisoning. Yeah, no, but it's going all right. Yeah, what do you mean I sound too hopeful and optimistic? You're a fine one to talk. You don't exist. I just made you up. Yeah. I couldn't think of anything to say, so I picked up the microphone and pretended I was having a phone call. Yeah, so, anyway, what does he say? Oh, I recognise you. Then he would get the spotlight and turn it around on somebody. "Oh, yeah, the heckler's down there. I recognise you. You've been driving around my manor, haven't you, in your third-hand Ford Fiesta with the green sun visor and your name's on the front. Wally and Wally. Yes, I remember it. Oh, you're in the police force?" Jeering from some parts of the audience. No. I've got a soft spot for the Metropolitan Police. Romney Marsh. Well, you know, it's been a good night, and, it doesn't matter really if you live or die or go down too well or not. I mean, here we are, stuck to a rock revolving around a dying star in a huge part of an ever-expanding and collapsing universe with billions and billions of galaxies. Billions of galaxies. That's more galaxies than there are punters in China, which is a fuck of a lot of galaxies. So when you think about it, if I'm dying on stage in a club in a little room in Soho, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, does it? Anyway, it's been nice talking to you. All power and much passion. Thank you very much. And my pleasure to introduce Den Levitt, ladies and gentlemen.
Nick Revel, yeah. I've got a little musical act for you now. Little song, ready for a little song? Breakout song. I first met Tony at Lee Delamere Services on the M4. We were going down to Hugh Thomas's brother's place in Pembrokeshire. I know some of you know that. A little farmhouse right on the edge of nowhere, and we wrote material and carved ivy out of the fallen wood. And did I put this on? There we go. Yeah, and then we did some workshops and did the Performance Club. I know a lot of you here from the Performance Club days, and I remember Lush Festival with some of you here that turned into Slush Festival. Yeah, yeah, totally rained off. But I know there's a lot of people here who have been influenced by Tony, so I thought I'd do a song that is not specifically about Tony, as you'll be able to tell by some of the verses. I might pick up on them, but it's like kind of all my inspirational people all rolled into one. So I was gonna do this for Tony, but he's not here. But maybe he'll watch it later. Oh, you, inspirational you, only you do what you do like you do. Oh yes, it's true. The only one who is you, only you, inspirational you. When you walk into the room, it lights up. When I see your face, it cheers me right up. You're so inspirational, you, inspirational you. Sorry. Only you do what you do like you do. Oh yes, it's true. Only one who is you, only you, inspirational you. You're so conversational. I think you are totally sensational. You're motivational, transformational, recreational, fully operational. Ooh, improvisational. Did I mention that you were sensational? You, inspirational you. And that's about now. Where's Mark Kelly? Is Mark Kelly here? Is that? Is there? Please welcome Mark Kelly.
Hello, yes, Tony said he actually wanted quite a sombre atmosphere, so I'm going to do my act, if that's all right. Now, I always have really, really fond memories of Tony. I've always thought of Tony as the act who would never sell out, no matter how small the venue. I first met Tony at the Elgin. I was up in Birkenhead and I heard something was happening in that London. So I rushed down on the coach to London, and I got here eventually. Missed the gig, obviously, but I went to the next one. And Tony was on, I think, if memory serves, it was Pauline Melville and Angela Latour, I think. And the thing that really impressed me, apart from the gig itself, was Tony was doing the door, right? Tony himself was doing the door, and he looked like one of the fabulous furry freak brothers at the time. And I thought, this is brilliant. The acts were all just sitting around the bar with everyone else. I thought, this is the way it actually should be, not sort of showbiz bollocks. And then the second time I saw Tony was on TV. I think it was 1981, and I think it was probably the first ever alternative comedy show. It was called Boom Boom Out Go the Lights. I don't know if anyone remembers that. It's probably on YouTube now or something. Boom Boom Out Go the Lights, and it was called that because the band that was on the show was the blues band, and it was an old blues number. And Tony came on and pointed out that the title of the show was actually from a song about a guy who goes home and beats up his girlfriend. And this is hardly very alternative, not the sort of thing we want. And I thought, someone who's willing to actually go on TV and sink his own career on the spot is my kind of guy. So I was really impressed by that. I thought, I was more impressed by that than the rest of the programme. I thought, right attitude. So I came down to London and I started doing comedy 82, 84. And it's real genuine thrill for me to start actually being on the bill with Tony. And I'll just remember two gigs very briefly for you. The first one, the first gig was one of those fly-by-night comedy clubs, opened and closes sort of same week. And it was just Tony and me, just the two of us. And there were 4 people in the audience. 4 people. Well, there's actually a third act, but he fucked off home. He didn't want to know about it. So it was just Tony and me. I was on first and didn't do that well. I mean, I tried. I acknowledged the situation. And I'd sort of attempted to do my act for 4 people. Didn't really work. Tony was absolutely brilliant. What Tony did was he got all 4 people who were all separate, all 4 people sitting around the same table, and he sat with them at the same table. So there's 5 people sitting around the same table, and he was conversational. And he did do some of his act. It wasn't all his own act, but he did do some of his act. Some of it was Lenny Bruce's. And he scattered some all around the table, and it was an absolutely brilliant lesson. But the second one was the one that really, really struck home for me. The second one, Tony and I were doing the Rubber Dub Club. Again, was the third act. I was on second, and Tony was closing the show. Tony was one of those, that sort of rare breed of comic who could close a show and possibly a venue. And so there's a little sort of frisson from me of competitiveness, which I'm not normally prone to. It's not really my sort of thing. But I'm sitting next to Tony before I go on. I'm thinking, I'm going to show you the old master something here. So I went on, I put all my best stuff in, did the best performance I was able to do at that stage, and it went really, really well. And I came back and I sort of sat next to Tony. Yeah. And then Tony went on. He was so much better than me. And he gave what I really genuinely think was one of the best performances I've seen by anyone anywhere in a comedy club. He was absolutely fantastic that night. Not many people there to see us, unfortunately, but he was absolutely brilliant. And then the final thing I wanted to say, but you're going to have to imagine this, or maybe look on your phones for this. I was going to do a seamless segue into a piece of music, but I'll tell you what it is in a moment. Many years ago, way before Tony got ill, I was sitting next to him at a gig, which in fact he had organised, and he leaned over to me and he said, "This is the piece of music I want played at my funeral." And the piece of music, if you want to look it up, was by friends of his at the time, Timon Dog and Helen Cherry, who a duo called the Frugivores. And the song was Beyond This Frontier. And it's an amazing song. If you can look it up, it's probably on YouTube, Spotify, whatever. The Frugivores, Beyond This Frontier. So I'll finish with the words of, for Tony, the words of Jerry Garcia. It's been a long, strange trip. So, bon voyage, Tony.
Okay, right, so we're going to go to a break. There's drinks at the bar, like get pissed, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes with a second half. Give yourselves and Tony, in lieu of him being here, a round of applause. Thank you. Right, stick some music on.
all around town. Give the trombone men room to move their slide, and we'll sing and play round the countryside. Wasn't long ago, I was in my teens. Well, that's the way we played down in New Orleans.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, could you please take your seats? I don't know where you're going to be taking them. Just fucking sit down and shut up, and we'll start the next section. Can you actually even hear me? I'm not even getting any response whatsoever. Turn up. Yes, thank you. Oh, old anarchist people. They don't do what they're told. It's not like herding cats, it's like herding older anarchist people.
We're not all anarchists, you know.
Oh, and one Stalinist. Right. Oh, do you want to specify? Right. You did. Thank you very much for doing that as well. Yes. We need to start. Right. Okay, even if you're not sitting down, you're going to have to stay standing up in that case while we do this bit. And also, shh, be quiet. We're going to start the second half. Stop talking to each other. Yeah. Right. Okay, we're sort of getting a semblance of an audience. That's it, that's good. Thank you. Shh. Does that work? Shh. Oh, okay, we like that. That's good. Oh, no, the people are starting to talk again at the back. Naughty. Right, or make you sit at the front. Be naughty like that. Okay, right. So we're going to start the second half, okay, with an incredible act who's coming all the way from over there. It is the incomparable Mr. Simon Munnery. Give him a massive round of applause. Keep it going until he gets to the microphone.
Traditions, they just vanish, don't they? Good evening. Went to a funeral the other day, caught the wreath. I made that joke up at Sean Hughes' funeral, and then I thought I'll turn that into it'd be a good painting. Went to a funeral the other day, caught the wreath, and I imagine the vicar throwing the wreath and the mourners going, "Oh, I hope it's not me." But I'm not very good at painting, so in order to turn it into a painting, I staged a funeral in my back garden. I dug a grave, I built a coffin, I strung a rope between two trees so I could fly the wreath in and out, and invited friends, neighbours and colleagues to come and attend my funeral. And I said on the invitation, if you come, you don't have to come to my actual funeral. Anyway, Tony Allen and Arthur Smith came all the way from London to attend my funeral, and it was photographed, and then I painted it from that. But such is the quality of the painting, you'll have no idea which one Tony is. Or anyone else. The first time, before I met Tony Allen or saw Tony Allen, I'd heard of him. A friend of mine, well, I say friend, he preferred the term dealer, used to go on about him. You know, oh, you should have seen Tony Allen back in the day, Tony Allen back in the day. Anyway, and then I don't know where I was, walking around somewhere, London. Well, I moved to London when I was 21. I didn't know anyone or anything, and still don't. But now I'm 56. Anyway, so it's not all bad. But anyway, I saw a poster. It was Tony Allen, sold out. And the way sold out was written was as if like someone had stamped sold out. And I rang up the theatre. I think it might have been a Canal Cafe. Anyway, so are there any tickets left? And there were. There were 6 of us in.
It's like, oh, there's my foot. Oh, just shoot it. I mean, if you're trying to get people in, calling a show sold out. I mean, it's almost cancelled would be better, you know, and more modern. So that other memories of Tony. He was the first person I ever met who sort of talked about the green issues, and I remember him coming in. I can't remember some club. I don't even know if he's on, but he just. Have you seen the countryside? Do you know what agribusiness is and the huge chicken sheds? I know I had no idea, and now I live in the countryside, and I've absolute idea of what it's like. But he was the first person to say that, and he used to speak at Speaker's Corner, and I went down a few times, but then I got distracted by football in Hyde Park. I used to play football in Hyde Park. With some other lads, we used to play football. I don't know what sort of. It was definitely a good or bad noise, but I can't decide which. You know, let's just embrace the noises. Ooh. Football, play football in Hyde Park. Ooh. What's that? Listen, it was too much religion. You know what I mean? Oh, you got fed up with it. I'll finish with a poem. If you know what it's like to look back on your life and think, my God, I was an idiot then, and in the same breath to suffer the glimpse, you're an idiot now and shall be till the end. Then come away from that mirror, my friend, cease your melancholy reflection. You're a prisoner of habit, trapped like a rabbit in the headlights of its own demise. You might be sailing across an ocean, you might be sailing across a lake. Can you steer, staring at your wake? Better calm down, lift up thine eyes, because it don't matter none. And if you need a blinding light, if you need a blinding light, if you need a blinding light, try the sun. Thank you very much. So I'm not a natural compere. Please welcome Dr. Oliver Double!
Hello. Right, nobody knows who I am. Never mind. I've got a T-shirt. It's got Tony on. Yeah. Right. So nobody knows who I am, but I'll tell you. I'm going to talk to you a couple of very quick stories about Tony's incursions into the world of higher education. Yeah. Because I'll tell you why. Because I'm in this. I'm in this book. This Tony book. I'll read you, this is how I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to introduce you as Tony describes me in the book. Oliver Double, ex-stand-up comedian, now Professor Double of Kent University. I love that. I'm not actually a professor. Great, he's promoted me. Is talking confidently to 20 people. He acknowledges me with a nod without breaking his rhythm. He's on it. He's a performer. All those people who were talking about Tony criticising them, I'm just going to say that's in print there. That is in print. I'll also read this bit. I've always liked Ollie's work. It's irrelevant, but, I just thought I'd read that to you. So, anyway, this is a story about in 1997 or 98. Tony and I found ourselves in a conference at the University of Wolverhampton. And we were doing a panel on stand-up comedy, and Tony arrived late, so I'm doing my bit. That's what he describes there. And then Tony gets up and does his bit. And there's far fewer people than this, like maybe 15 people in the room. Big academic room. And one of the people is the Italian Marxist playwright and actor Dario Fo. Yes. Den was there too. Den witnessed this, right? So Dario Fo, Accidental Death of an Anarchist, Can't Pay, Won't Pay. That Dario Fo, a Marxist who wore an extraordinarily expensive coat, right? And, he's in there, and there's a guy translating for him, a young guy, maybe about 19 years old. And Tony's really put off his stride by this. He doesn't know what's going on here. There's somebody talking. There's a young guy translating for an older guy, in a expensive coat. And so Tony does his bit, talking about the difference between acting and performance, talking about direct address to an audience, what I'm doing right now. And at the end, it's questions. And Dario Fo gets up and does 10 minutes through a translator. And he basically denounces everything that we've been doing because from the point of view of an Italian playwright who's into the popular tradition, I mean, he starts with, since the days of the medieval travelling player. That's his opening line, right? So he does that for 10 minutes, and then Tony goes, no, man, that's not right. There's a difference. It's stand-up comedy. It's a different thing. And they get into a ruck, right? And then we go to the pub, and Den was there. She can witness it. Now, the way that Tony's written it in here is not exactly correct. So this is what happened. I said to Tony, so Tony, at what point did you realise you were talking to Dario Fo? And he went, oh. I wasn't I? That's what actually happened. Now, talking of delightful responses, this is the last little story and then I'm out of here. So Tony's come in to teach my students loads of times and he's brilliant with them. Absolutely fantastic, and the students love him. But there was a thing that happened one time when he came in to teach them. I was away at the time, so I didn't witness it personally. I heard about it later. And what I love about this story is it's the counterintuitive responses, right? So what happened was, Tony went, so, have you been to the library? Have you seen what books they've got in your university library? You know, books about comedy. And they went, well, yeah, okay, but... And he went, no, well, let's go now. And he took them to the library. Now, what Tony hadn't done was got a pass for somebody who doesn't work at the university so he could get into the library. So his solution to that conundrum was to bunk the barrier, right? And so what happened was a bunch of sort of like 21-year-old students witnessed Tony being escorted out by security, right? Now, here's the thing. They're all kind of fresh-faced, innocent 19, 20, 21-year-olds. How were they going to react to this? They thought it was fucking excellent. How did Tony, the lifelong anarchist, react? I'm not proud, Ollie. I'm not proud. I would not have guessed that would be his reaction. Okay, listen, that's all from me. Thank you for listening. Are you ready? Are you ready for the next person? Okay, you've got an absolute treat here. Actually, somebody else who's got a connection with the University of Kent. Please welcome onto the stage the amazing Attila the Stockbroker.
And it's actually a really perfect little segue, really, because I went to university at 17 on a full grant from a single-parent family in 1975, and it was the University of Kent, and I went there because it was the most radical university at the time. I had the most fantastic times, the beginning of punk rock. Obviously, I got on the Ents Committee, organised all kinds of fantastic gigs. And after that, I saw the Clash in 1977. I knew I was going to earn my living as a poet, musician somehow. Basically, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I was a bass player, so I played the bass. Then I stopped playing the bass, and I started getting up on stage, shouting poetry, punk gigs. And at the time, obviously, there was a lot of troubles with Nazis. We were all involved in Rock Against Racism. So I was getting grief from fascists, and obviously I was doing gigs where people were there to hear bands, and I was going down pretty well, but it was always... And then I had this call one day from a guy who I'd never heard of, called Tony Allen, saying, we've got this thing called Alternative Cabaret. Would you like to come and do a gig for us? And I thought, this is going to be brilliant, because they're actually going to be people who are going to be sitting there to listen to spoken word instead of wanting to get pissed, and some of them, being fascists, wanting to have fights. And so I went along, and it was absolutely brilliant. And I got to know Tony, and we did, over the next 5 or 6 years, we did sporadically substantial number of gigs together, because I'm sure you all know Tony wasn't just involved in comedy, in the comedy scene. He compared and performed at rock gigs, at anti-fascist gigs. I mean, most of the times that I played with, because I'm not a comedian, obviously I'm a spoken word performer and musician, most of the times I played with him were at festivals and at benefits, political benefits, and at anti-fascist gigs. Sometimes I remember one at his local tabernacle in 1981. I still have the scar on my head from where the Fash turned out, and we had a massive, great big ruck with them. Anyway, so total respect. I mean, what he did for me was he started off the part of, because I was Attila the Stockbroker from mid-1980, and he started me off into the world of of actually performance cabaret, alternative cabaret, called it alternative cabaret, which then obviously moved into the new variety with Roland and Claire Muldoon. I was hoping they might be here tonight. And for a few years, as you know, there was this amazing mix of everything, and then it all went shit and corporate. And that was really, and I wrote a poem called Comic in a Basket, which I wrote for Tony Allen, talking cutting edge, gone blunt, 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 talking saboteurs, they're riding with the hunt, talking cutting edge, gone blunt, blunt, blunt. And all I wanted to say, really, he was inspirational, but not just as a comedian working as a compere in comedy clubs. He did so much else in the music scene. And obviously, he hung, that's the reason I were on this tonight, London West 11. Ain't So Lucky to Be Rich, Sten Guns in Knightsbridge, The Shirt, Strummer. He knew Strummer. He did stuff with the 101ers. So, shame you gone home, mate, but you, a huge inspiration and a starting point and a point of reference. Somebody who I've seen irregularly, but occasionally for 40 years and very regularly in the 1980s. Absolute total respect. A life well lived. He made a difference. He did something really valuable and really important. Thank you, comrade. Yeah, me too. I'm not a compere either. And of course, I know this chap from a very long time ago. Please welcome Ivan Lembina.
Good evening, everyone. I just firstly want to pay tribute to Attila and reminding me of those, quite affectionately, of those fights with the fascists. And because I used to be a fascist. I actually, my first encounter with Tony was like many other people down at the Comedy Store in Soho, and I remember going that atmosphere. So others have better than I can conjured up the unique atmosphere, the excitement, and all the rest. And I was thinking about it, I can still remember, and I swear this is true. The very first person I ever saw on that comedy stage was, in fact, Tony Allen, who was the compere. And the very first act that he introduced, is it sitting in this room, was John Hegley. And I can remember as clear as daylight that only one of those acts was funny. My message to Tony is, you've still got time. But I thought I'd come. I'm really sad that Tony's not in the room. But I just wanted to say, just want to come say goodbye before you die, which sounds like a John Hegley poem. First two jokes worked. So apologies in advance for dying on the last one to John Hegley, who you're going to meet very soon. Another marvellous individual from that generation. It's been fantastic. I'm so glad I came. I'm welling up. And it's not just Tony, obviously, I'm very sad about, but this is reminding me of an era, actually. An era of which Tony was obviously an amazing part. But it's just great to be amongst you all tonight, and I'm really glad I came along. So thanks very much. Johnny Fluffy Punk.
Hello. I came into Tony's orbit not as a comedian, but as a poet, similar to Attila. I started off at punk gigs, but I was a few years later, and it was anarcho-punk gigs, and there were no battles with fascists, just vegans criticising my shoes from the stage. But I first met Tony at the Green Gathering festival, where me and my then girlfriend were doing a sort of cabaret act, which was like us playing sort of silly songs together. I mean, just having this sort of blazing row and her criticising absolutely everything that I did. And then when we came off stage, Tony Allen came up and goes, "That was a brilliant act." And I said, "It wasn't actually an act. We have actually just split up." And he goes, "Well, you should turn it into an act. It was bloody good." And then after that, I met him in the kitchen of our anarchist housing co-op in Brighton, where he was busy holding forth to a kitchen table full of vegans about the evils of urban foxes and not making himself any friends. He found out that I was back and I was doing sort of poems and stuff like that, but with a lot of umming and ahhing in between each poem. So he goes, "Come with me." And he took me under his wing, like he has done with so many people probably in this room, which was such a beautiful thing. He took me under his wing, and I started going to his attitude. I went to one of his attitude workshops in London, and he had me come, come on, you come and, basically be his assistant for years, along with a few other long-suffering individuals in this room, who got to know all around London how bad the seating arrangements and lighting rigs were in a whole range of venues, according to Tony. I've rearranged chairs in so many different spaces because it couldn't possibly have a gig happening in it. I guess I should just say, as Ivor just said, it reminded Ivor of a whole era, and to me, I was a bit later than that era, but it's also an attitude, as he said in his book. It's an attitude that you don't often see around on the performance circuit these days. And I guess one of our proudest moments, because we were running the workshops and we were also running the performance club, and we used to run the cabaret at the Anarchist Book Fair, when that used to still happen. We used to run the cabaret at the Anarchist Book Fair. Exactly, and in our final year of running it, I remember they wanted us to put on a load of elderly international workers of the world songwriters, and we refused, and instead had Sir Gideon berating people for having jobs in the audience. We had a transvestite, a transvestite go-go troupe, a woman singing about a pride song about being a slag, and it culminated in a stripping James Bond, who then ran from the venue and got beaten up by bikers. And after that, the Anarchist Book Fair said that we were too anarchic, really, to run the Anarchist Book Fair, and it got taken out of our hands. And I'm proud of that. And Tony Allen, we love you. And watch it back at home. Thank you very much. And it now gives me great pleasure to introduce the wonderful Mr. John Hegley.
Thank you. Seeing Ivor, there was, I think, one of the things when Ivor was doing gigs that I think Tony would appreciate is that there was a benefit night, and it was very sparse technology there, and there wasn't an adapter. And Ivor said, "You can have lights or sound." What did I opt for, Ivor? I can't remember. Can you remember? Do you remember that? Red Rose. Not there no more. Oh yeah, and taking that out of my pocket reminds me, because when we did the Comedy Store, people had often done other gigs elsewhere, and you come down there at midnight, and taking that out of my pocket, and I was thinking about things, Tony things, this week, and one of the things was that Tony I used to be a bit slipshod, and I was just remembering pushing me money back in my jacket pocket, because I used to wear suit jackets. I used to do that. The trouble started, it's going to be worse in the third half. Okay. So, anyway, so this is a little song, sort of songy poem sort of thing. All right, Westbourne, let's rock. A little bit of fun there. Only a little bit, though. Dear Tony, here's some recollections which are in the form of rhymes. My first encounter with you was in the printed pages of the International Times. the photo of you with the giant tin opener brandished in your hand. Having just cut through some corrugated keep-out iron fencing as if it was only a tin can, only a tin can. And keeping cutting at confinements, you've succeeded very well. And once I saw you on your cycle in a white tuxedo with a flower in your lapel. Earlier I'd seen you in the flesh for the first time on Speaker's Corner, my girlfriend Pam and I. How we liked your programme of cheekiness and challenging. In another park on another day, I got to mark your knowledge of the trees. And years ago there were the times when we were both performing, and you would always put me at my ease. With my own first stabs at cabaret and seeking the applause, the big laugh of encouragement. Dear Tony, it was yours.
I was just trying to get a drink out of that tab. Okay, that's the second half done. Round of applause. Yay! Right. Yeah. Drink some more. We'll come back for some more bits and pieces in about 10 minutes. Yes! Hooray! Oh, everyone's like, we want to watch stuff now. Focus. Yeah. Okay, well, I think there's some issues around people's confidentiality. So we'll be closing the live stream at this point. This is when all the really exciting acts come on if you're watching at home. You're not going to get to see them. Okay, see you later. I